I've grown so much as a person outside of the role, and I feel like me and Teen Dwayne are one.
Can you believe it? We're already on the season 3 finale.
I know. It's so crazy. I got a text a few days ago, February 16th, and there's like, can you believe it's been 2 years since our premiere of season one? That's just insane. I can't believe it. Like, I don't know how the time has flown. I don't know how we've already filmed 3 seasons. But here we are.
Here we are. And we've got such a great response for your show, just season after season after season. What is it like having such love come at you from all directions?
It's so insane. It's so crazy. And there's so many aspects to this role that I never considered before booking it. And I was like, oh, it's so cool. I get to do this show. That's what I always wanted. I wanted to act in a show. But I think like after it's come out and then meeting people in person and like seeing that they really like the show and then reading nice comments, like it's nice to see that it really impacts people. We inspire people, and families bond watching our show, and we've really gotten so much good feedback, and we couldn't ask for more because it's really kind of a love letter to wrestling. It's a love letter to families and just anyone that goes through struggle, and I can relate with that. So the show is very inspiring, and it's just so nice to know that we've positively impacted people.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about kind of your own personal journey with the show. Have you discovered anything about yourself playing Dwayne or any similarities or differences there?
Yeah, I think I realize a lot more about where my head was at when I was a teenager, because I like to think that I was like cool when I was a teenager, and then now I'm acting, and I'm not. I'm playing him at 15, and when I read the scene, it comes across pretty awkward and like kind of goofy, and I'm realizing that that's actually just who I am. I'm awkward, and I think also just that feeling of not being understood in a way. I think he could be looked at as this bad kid because he's stealing things, and he's buying alcohol underage. And I think he was a good-hearted kid, and I think there was a time I felt misunderstood too, and it's really a therapeutic experience in a way for me. Every actor says this kind of thing, but I feel like for me playing this role, I've grown so much as a person outside of the role, and I feel like me and Teen Dwayne are one.
Well, how was it kind of going back to high school in that way? Was it kind of surreal in a way? Because I got to say, you couldn't pay me to go back at this point.
Yeah, pretty surreal. And my high
Yeah.
school experience was I thought I was cool, but I was actually pretty awkward.
Yeah.
And I think it was just fun to get to do it in this kind of setting where, I have that freedom to kind of just play with it. And
Mhm.
especially that first season when you're going on these like terrible dates with Karen and the whole, high school element of it all is pretty fun. But yeah, it's weird sometimes because I'm 24 years old and I'm playing 15. But and when I meet people in person, they're like, "Oh, I love the show." Or it's like sometimes I might meet them at a bar and they're like, "Are you old
Yeah.
enough?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I promise."
The things you got to do when you're playing the rock. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, kind of on the older spectrum, we've got Uli, like as older The Rock. He's in the wrestling ring. He's taking the SNL stage in the finale. How do you two work together to create such a cohesive story? Because it really, other than knowing it's two different people, it really feels so linear in a way
Yeah.
where, it's just really impressive.
Yeah. That's definitely a credit to the writing, 100%, but definitely the casting because it feels there's this atmosphere on our set where we all feel like a real family. And it has always felt that way since the first season. The first season was middle of the pandemic, so everything's still closed, but we all went to Australia, stayed in the same quarantine hotel, and then, all bonded together in that environment. And I feel like it's just it's so easy, with Uli and Adrian that we hang out outside of set, and our personalities are pretty similar, and in a lot of ways, I look up to Uli and I see the way that he is with his family, and he's such a good dad and he's such a good person. And I think I look up to Uli, then I look at Adrian and he feels like this awesome little brother I've always wanted. So I feel like that chemistry is just already there. So we never really kind of sit down and like conversate about, or converse, excuse me. My grandmother would be so mad at me right now. But we don't ever sit around and converse about like what strategy we're gonna have to kind of make sure it's linear. It's just organically happened that way, and it's really magical in a way.
Oh, that's wild. I can't believe that you haven't had to really sit down and do anything about that. Well, you've got a little bit of a different job too. I would argue and say that yours is a little bit harder than Uli's just because he's got a lot of reference material to watch. Like he can kind of take a look at those TV shows and the wrestling footage and kind of base it off that. Would you agree, or do you think that you've got kind of an easier
You
time with it?
know, it's hard. I think it's really fun. And it's really fun, and I envy sometimes Uli being able to like play these like specific moments that are so cool and very iconic. But I also think I don't envy Uli because it's so much harder to actually
Mhm.
replicate these things that, these moments that people know and they love. There's so many diehard fans of The Rock, and he's killing it, and credit to Uli because he does it so organically in a way where it's not like he's imitating these moments from The Rock. He does it so organically, and he brings his heart to it, and he brings Uli to the role.
Mhm.
And I think for me, artistically, it's a lot more freeing to not have to
Mhm.
play that. I can just kind of have fun with it and do whatever, and I have a lot more freedom, I think. So I know my role and I shut my mouth and I have the best time. Like it's literally just a joy just to play around with the character.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about it that way. You do have a little bit more like, well, you never know.
Yeah.
Now, I am so curious. I ask everyone who is on a show like this, who would you bring in as like your most iconic possible guest star, and who would you want them to play? Because it's always so fun having people come in as guest stars.
Yeah. Ooh, I don't know. There's so many.
I know.
Probably Kevin Hart. I think that's kind of an obvious one.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that has to happen before, everything is said and done. We have to have Kevin Hart on our show. He should play in like every era. He could play like obviously in Uli's era, then maybe he could play like one of Adrian's best friends in school, or he could play, he could play in my era. And so maybe he's like the new Kevin that tries to steal Karen away from me or something.
I love it. And no one can play Kevin Hart but Kevin Hart. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Now, kind of like looking to the future, what are you excited for with Young Rock and with people seeing the finale and kind of moving on from there?
Yeah, I think there's really so much to be told that hasn't been told yet. And there's a lot of just every time I get a script when we've sat down for each season, I'm just shocked. I'm like, what? That happened? This? What? So there's really so much that can happen. I think tonight's finale for season 3 is very special, but because it's the full circle moment of the struggle of the family.
Mhm.
Dwayne's mission to make it to the NFL and buy a home for his mom didn't work out. Then he made it to through wrestling, and he finally got to this point where he could buy his mom a home. And there's a lot of really special flashbacks to hard moments with the family in my era and Adrian's era, all leading up to a really sweet and heartwarming kind of conclusion in a way. Not conclusion because there's a lot of things that happen after, he bought
Yeah.
his mom a home, but and a little taste of his acting career, which is really fun. And I stayed around on set to watch Uli film a lot of the SNL bits and the fun little skits that they did. And it's very exciting and it's very cool. And honestly, this has been my favorite season by far, just because it's so cool. Like I've gotten to do a lot of really fun things with my character, and there's a lot, just so much that could happen. I don't even know what to say.
Basically, get ready to laugh and grab some tissues is
Yeah,
what I'm
exactly.
hearing.
Yeah. It's always a balance of laughing one moment and then crying the next.
Truly, giving me whiplash over here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I am super looking forward for everyone to see the finale and to see the story moving forward. So I really appreciate your time.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Anna.